adults, children of all ages. Welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. 15 regular season weeks of NCAA college football. We've covered 233 games here on Robert Sports Show. Now it's bowl time. We have all 40 bowl games, picks against the spread and over-under, just like we've done every week here on Robert Sports Show for the NCAA and NFL. Win-loss, I was 173-63. Against the spread, 104-29. And over-under, 118 and 115. Not spectacular by no means. I'm good. I'm happy with it. Hopefully next year we can get better, or I can get better. Next year I'm going to try to add my own rankings each week also here on Robert Sports Show. So that's going to be a big undertaking to get that set up. When I do my rankings, it's going to be based on obviously win-loss, strength of schedule, and point differential. So, and also first of the year, January 1. Stay tuned to Robert Sports Show for the first video of the year. Will be the NCAA realignment. I have a radical way to realign the NCAA football teams. To get rid of the committee, to get rid of the AP, to get rid of the coaches poll. We will have no more polls. But stay tuned to Robert Sports Show January 1 and check that out. Okay, we have the 2017-18 bowl games. Here we go. First bowl, the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl, Sun Belt versus Conference USA. This is the 17th game for the New Orleans Bowl. $500,000 payout. We have the Troy Trojans at 10-2 versus the North Texas Mean Green at 9-4. Troy is favored by 6.5. I actually have them winning, covering, and under on the 62. We have the third annual AutoNation Cure Bowl, the Conference USA versus Sunbelt, with an $802,000 payout. We have the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers at 6-2 versus the Georgia State Panthers at 6-5. Western Kentucky favored by 6. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 51.5. The 27th annual Las Vegas Bowl, the Mountain West versus the Pac-12. $1.35 million payout here. 25th ranked Boise State Broncos at 10-3 versus the Oregon Ducks at 7-5. Boise State is 3-0 in this bowl all time. Oregon is favored by 7.5. I'm taking the Pac-12 here. I got the Ducks winning, covering at 7.5 and over on the 59.5. Next, we have the 12th annual Glidden, New Mexico Bowl, $1,050,000 payout. Conference USA versus the Mountain West. Marshall Thunderbird at 7-5. Versus the Colorado State Rams at 7-5. Colorado is 2-0 in this bowl all time. The Rams are favored by 5.5. I got them winning, covering, and under on the 58. The fourth annual Raycom Media Carmelo Bowl, Sunbelt versus Conference USA, with a $100,000 payout. The Mid Tennessee Red Raiders at 6-6 versus the Arkansas State Red Wolves at 7-4. Arkansas State favored by 3.5. I'm taking Middle Tennessee. I got them covering the 3 and under on the 62.5. So I got Middle Tennessee plus 3.5. Next, we have the fourth annual Cherry Bundy Tart Cherry Boca Raton Bowl. Conference USA versus the MAC with a $800,000 payout. The Florida Atlantic Owls at 10-3 versus the AKRON Zips at 7-6. Florida Atlantic favored by 22.5. I got them winning, covering it under on the 61.5. Next, we have the first ever DXL Frisco Bowl, formerly known as the Miami Beach Bowl. It got moved to Dallas and changed the name of it. $100,000 payout. The SMU Southern Methodist Mustangs at 7-5 versus the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs at 6-6. Fifth meeting all time between these two schools. Louisiana Tech is 3-1. SMU favored by 5. I got them winning, covering. I'm taking under on the 70. Next, we have the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl, American Conference versus Conference USA. The 10th annual with a $1.3 million payout. The Temple Owls at 6-6 versus the Florida International Panthers at 8-4. Temple favored by 7. I'm giving Florida Atlantic the 7, so Florida Atlantic plus 7, cover under on the 56. Next, we have the 4th annual Bahamas Bowl, Conference USA versus the MAC Conference. $225,000 payout. University of Alabama Birmingham, 8-4, the Blazers. versus the Ohio Bobcats at 8-4. Bobcats favored by 7.5. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 57. Next, we have the 21st annual famous Idaho Potato Bowl with a $1.05 million payout. The MAP versus the Mountain West. Central Michigan Chippewas at 8-4 versus the Wyoming Cowboys at 7-5. The Chippewas favored by 1. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 45.5. Next, we have the 12th annual Birmingham Bowl with a $2.05 million payout. We have the Big 12 versus the American. Really, is that really fair? The Big 12 and the American? Come on, guys. Yeah. Texas Tech Red Raiders at 6-6 versus the South Florida Bowl at 9-2. South Florida favored by 2.5. I'm giving the 2.5 to Texas Tech. I got Texas Tech plus the 2.5, covering, and under on the 67. The 16th annual Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. We have the with a $1.557 million payout. We have the San Diego State Aztecs at 10-2 versus the Army Black Knights at 9-3, coming off their upset victory over Navy in Week 15, the annual Navy-Army game. San Diego State favored by 7.5. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 49.5. Next, we have the 19th edition of the Dollar General Bowl with a $1.5 million payout. Sunbelt versus the MAC. Appalachian State Mountaineers 8-4 versus Toledo Rockets 11-2. Toledo favored by 7.5. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 63. Next, we have the 16th annual Hawaii Bowl with a $1.2 million payout. We have Fresno State Bulldogs at 9-4 versus the Houston Cougars at 7-4. Mountain West versus the American. Houston favored by 2.5. I'm giving the 2.5 to Fresno State. So I got Fresno State plus 2.5, covering, over on the 50. Next, we have the 8th edition of the Heart of Dallas Bowl. Big 12 versus the Pac-12 with a $1.667 payout. West Virginia Mountaineers at 7-5 versus Utah Utes at 6-6. Utah favored by a touchdown, winning, covering, under on the 56.5. Next, the 4th annual Quick Lane Bowl with a $1.8 million payout. We have the ACC versus the MAC. Duke Blue Devils at 6-6 versus the Northern Illinois Huskies at 8-4. Duke favored by 5. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 47. Next, we have the 29th annual Cactus Bowl with a $1.75 million payout. Big 12 versus Pac-12. We have Kansas State Wildcats at 7-5 versus the UCLA Bruins at 6-6. Kansas State favored by 2, winning, covering, under on the 63.5. Next, we have the 42nd annual FALCONS Independence Bowl, Conference USA versus the ACC, $1.486 million payout. Southern Mississippi Golden Eagles at 8-4 versus the Florida State Seminoles at 6-6. Florida State is favored by 15.5, winning, covering, and under on the 49. Next, we have the 8th annual New Era Pinstripe Bowl with a Big 10 versus the ACC, a $4.2 million payout. The Iowa Hawkeyes at 7-5 versus the Boston College Eagles at 7-5. Iowa favored by a field goal, and then winning, covering, and over on the 46. Next, we have the 16th annual Foster's Farms Bowl, $3.6 million payout. Big 10 versus Pac-12. Purdue Boilermakers at 6-6 versus the Arizona Wildcats at 7-5. Arizona favored by 3.5. I got them winning, covering, and under on the 65.5. Next, we have the 12th annual Academy Sports and Outdoors Texas Bowl. SEC versus Big 12, $6.2 million payout. We have the Missouri Tigers at 7-5 facing their old Big 12 rivals, the Texas Longhorns at 6-6. Missouri, wow, what a season. They lost, 4 straight and then won 6 or 7? Or no, they started 1-0, then they had like a losing streak there, then they won a bunch in a row. I don't remember exactly the numbers. They won the first game because it was against the Pirate Puff. But they came back to 7-5. So we'll see what happens. Missouri favored by a field goal. I get them winning, covering, under on the 60.5. Next, we have the 10th annual Northrop Grumman Military Bowl, ACC versus American, $2.066 million payout. Virginia Cavaliers 6-6 versus the Navy Midshipmen at 6-6. Virginia favored by 2.5. I get them winning, covering, and under on the 55. Next, we have the 28th annual Camping World Bowl, Big 12 versus ACC, $5.8 million payout. 22nd ranked Virginia Tech Hokies at 9-3 versus the 19th ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys at 9-3. Oklahoma State favored by 4.5. I got them winning, covering, and under on the 63. Next, the 25th annual Valero Alamo Bowl. Pac-12 versus Big 12, $7.775 million payout. 13th ranked Stanford Cardinals at 9-4 versus the 15th ranked TCU Horned Frogs at 10-3. TCU favored by 2.5. Winning, covering it over on the 49. Next, we have the 40th annual San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl, $5.93 million payout. The Big 10 versus the Pac-12. The 18th ranked Washington State Cougars at 9-3 versus the 16th ranked Michigan State Spartans also at 9-3. Washington State favored by 3. I got them winning, covering it over on the 45. The 16th annual Belk Bowl, SEC versus ACC, $4.623 million payout. The Wake Forest Demon Deacons at 7-5 versus the Texas A&M Aggies at 7-5. Wake Forest is favored by a field goal. Taking Texas A&M +3, cover under on the 64.5. Next, we have the 84th annual Hyundai Sun Bowl, ACC versus Pac-12, $3.447 million payout. 24th ranked NC State Wolfpack at 8-4 versus the Arizona State Sun Devils at 7-5. Wolfpack favored by 6. I got them winning, covering and under on the 59.5. The 20th annual Franklin American Mortgage Music City Bowl, Big 10 versus SEC, $5.87 million payout. The Kentucky Wildcats at 7-5 versus the 21st ranked Northwestern Wildcats at 9-3. Northwestern favored by a touchdown. I got them winning, covering and over on the 51. As much money as there is in college football, it's almost a semi-pro league. You would think there's a way of giving money to the players for extra things they need for college. Not straight up giving them a salary, but giving them some type of stipend or something, because you figure the average student that's at a university, let's just say Notre Dame, the average student, say they're there on a scholarship for academics or for music or for almost anything besides football or basketball. They can have a part-time job. They can work at the university and make money. They can work off campus and make money. These semi-professional athletes, football players, basketball players, they don't have the opportunity to work on campus or off campus because of doing their studies, practice, games, bowl games, playoff games, etc., etc. And I know Title IX says everything has to be equal. I agree with that 100%. So here's how you fix it. You take whatever that university makes in a season for their football program, basketball program, golf program, whatever that is. Football makes $5 million a year. Just throwing numbers out there, people. Football makes $5 million a year. 1% of that gets divided up between all football players. Men's basketball makes $2 million a year. 1% of what that program makes gets divided all the athletes. Women's golf makes $100,000 a year. Just for shits and grins here, I'm throwing numbers out there, people. You put 1%. So whatever the program is, you take 1% out, you divide it between the players. Now, will the Alabamas of the world be able to tell a kid, hey, Alabama football makes BAM, you get paid BAM? Probably. Another way to do that would be a flat. Men's football, no matter what FBS school you're at, gets paid this. Women's basketball, no matter what FBS school you're at, gets paid this. You make it where the smaller schools are cool or can afford it, but you're still paying everyone across the FBS, FCS, NCAA Division III, MAIA, each, that way it's fair to everyone. Just an idea. Third annual Nova Home Loans Arizona Bowl, Sunbelt versus Mountain West, $278,000 payout for the bowl game here. New Mexico State Aggies 6-6 versus the Utah State Aggies 6-6. I bet the Aggies win. I'm picking the Utah State Aggies. I got them covering the 4 points and under on the 61.5. Next, we have the 82nd annual Goodyear Cotton Bowl, the Pac-12 versus the Big 12. Payouts $4 million. Now, when it's one of the playoff games, it's $6 million payout. The eighth ranked USC Trojans 11-2 versus the 5th ranked Ohio State Buckeyes 11-2. Ohio State lost out on the playoffs the same way they won it last year. They were, last year they were one loss, didn't make the Big 12 finals. Big 12 champion Penn State, 2 losses, the 1 loss went in. This year, Ohio State, Big 10 champions with 2 losses. The 1 loss, Alabama, didn't play. They're in. Ohio State's out. My radical realignment would fix that problem. Yes, I know, Alabama is a better school than Ohio State. Better football program, excuse me. But when you play less games, Alabama, you have less chance of losing Alabama versus Ohio State. Come on now, people. Ohio State has 2 losses, but they played more games. You think if Alabama played another game, they would have lost? Possibly. But we don't know. So I think it's kind of, Wisconsin 1 loss, they're left out. Yeah, it's a whole. My realignment will fix that. So you got to make sure you check that out. January 1, Robert Sports Show. Tax Layer, the 73rd annual. Oh, sorry. I got USC, Ohio State's favored by 7. I like the way USC's been playing lately. I think Ohio State. I'm giving USC the points. USC plus 7, covering under on the 64.5. I hope I'm right with that. Next, we have the 73rd annual Tax Slayer Bowl ACC SEC with Louisville Cardinals at 8-4 versus the 23rd ranked Mississippi State Bulldogs 8-4. Louisville's favored by 6.5. I'm giving the 6.5 to the SEC team. And picking Mississippi State plus 6.5. Louisville will cover the 6.5. I think it'll be like a field goal win for them, and under on the 63.5. Next, we have the 59th annual AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Big 12 versus American, $4.8 million payout. We have the Iowa State Cyclones at 7-5 versus 20th ranked Memphis Tigers at 10-2. Memphis favored by 3.5. Winning, covering, and under on the 66. Next, we have the 47th annual PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, Pac-12 versus Big 10, $4 million payout. The 11th ranked Washington Huskies at 10-2 versus the 9th ranked Penn State Nittany Lions at 10-2. Penn State favored by 2. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 55. Next, we have the second oldest, tied for the second oldest bowl game, the 82nd annual Capital One Orange Bowl. Cotton Bowl has also been around 82 years. ACC versus Big 10, $4 million payout. $6 million wins one of the playoff games. 6th ranked Wisconsin Badgers 12-1 versus the 10-2, 10th ranked Miami Hurricanes. My point exactly. Wisconsin's only loss was in the Big 10 title game. Miami played 1 less game because of the hurricane. Would Miami be in this position if they would have had 3 losses? We don't know. Would they have still been in the ACC title game if they would have had 3 losses? I'd have to look at the standings to find out. I didn't write that down. Yeah, just how my realignment's going to fix it. Wisconsin favored by 6.5. I got them winning, covering, and over in 45. Next, we have the 32nd annual Outback Bowl, Big 10 versus ACC, $6.3 million payout. Michigan Wolverines at 8-4 versus South Carolina Gamecocks, 8-4. Michigan favored by 7.5. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 43. Next, we have the 26th annual Chick-fil-A Bowl Peach Bowl, the American versus SEC, $4 million payout. 12th ranked University of Central Florida Knights at 12-0, the only undefeated team in the FBS this year. Unfortunately, they play for the American Conference. Well, now they get to play a big boy. The 7th ranked Auburn Tigers, 10-3. Auburn favored by 9.5. To really, I've been real in the past. When you have an undefeated team, they're not part of the Power 5. But come on, shouldn't they be in the playoff hunt? Well, people have said, well, they're not, part of the Power 5. They're not as good as the Power 5. We're going to see here if a undefeated American team can hang with an SEC team. Auburn favored by 9.5. I do have Auburn winning. I get them covering the 9.5 and under on the 66.5. Because I don't think they can hang, but we will see. Next, we have the 72nd edition of the Citrus Bowl by Overtons. We have the Indy Conference versus the SEC, $8.5 million payout. 14th ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish at 9-3 versus the 17th ranked LSU Tigers at 9-3. LSU favored by 3. Excuse me. I'm picking Notre Dame, giving them the 3 points, cover under on the 51.5. And now on to our 2 playoff bowl games. The winners go on to play for the national championship. We have the 104th edition of the Rose Bowl by Northwestern Mutual. SEC versus Big 12, $6 million payout. The 3rd ranked SEC champion, Georgia Bulldogs, 12-1, versus the Big 12 champion, the 2nd ranked Oklahoma Sooners at 12-1. The other game is the 84th annual All-State Sugar Bowl, $6 million payout. We have the 4th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide, 11-1, versus the ACC champion, number 1 ranked, 12-1 Clemson Tigers. The winners of these 2 games go on to play. In one game, we have Georgia and Oklahoma. Georgia's favored by 2. Tough one. My thought process is, hear me out before you go, whoa, you're wrong, dude. Oklahoma, Big 12. Big 12 is not quite as strong as conference as SEC. Stouter teams. I know. They beat Alabama. They're 12. They one loss. They lost to Auburn. I am picking the Bulldogs. You might think I'm an SEC homer, but I'm really not. I'm not affiliated to any school, any conference. I'm just, what the tea leaves tell me, I'm picking Georgia to win. I got them covering over on the 60 points. They're going to represent 1/2 of the playoffs for the SEC. And then the Sugar Bowl. Rematch of the last 2 years playoffs, the championship game. 1 year Alabama won, 1 year Clemson won. Here we are, Alabama and Clemson, first round. Alabama is favored by 2.5. All 4 years of the playoffs, Alabama has been in the playoffs. 4th year of it, Alabama's been there every year. 2 years they made it to the championship game. Whew. Snick saving, people. Alabama covers the 2.5. Over on the 47, we have an all SEC national championship game. For the first time ever, 2 schools in one conference in the playoffs, in the championship game. Get you some of that! Stay tuned to Robert Sports Show for the championship game preview. And check out the NFL Week 15 preview. As always, thanks for watching Robert Sports Show. Don't just have a great day, have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader, sports channel content. Get you some of that! Woo!